Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we'll hear from the Northern Lights Gospel Quartet. But first, joining me now is the curator of the Plains Art Museum, Becky Dunham. Becky, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here and talk about my experiences in Fargo so far.
Well, there you go. As we get started, though, tell the folks a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're originally from, and things like that.
Sure. One of the questions I get the most since I moved up here is, where are you from? You know, what brought you up to Fargo? And really, it's kind of a tricky question for me to answer. I grew up moving around quite a bit. My dad worked in the information technology industry, which was very project oriented. So we moved to wherever the city the next project was located in. I was born in Seattle. From there, I went to St. Louis, spent some time in Texas, Florida, the Washington, D.C. area, some time in North Carolina, and, eventually ended up here. So that's sort of where I'm from. I kind of consider myself to be a Texan because I spent most of my time there.
Well, I was about to say a gypsy, but okay. So how did you come to end up at the Plains Art Museum?
Sure. Well, what really brought me up here was the curator position at Plains Art Museum. Working in the arts industry, it is somewhat of a small field, and you basically go to wherever the job is located you're most attracted to. And so that's what brought me up to the upper Midwest.
Well, so when you say curator of a museum, what is a curator? What does a curator do?
This is the question I get asked most from people when I'm first introduced to them. Excuse me. And the word curator is sort of an old fuddy-duddy kind of term. It's based on a Latin word, which actually doesn't have anything to do with art. But when you translate it, basically means to take care of something, to be responsible for, to maintain. And these type of characteristics really describe what a curator does for the art at the museum.
Okay, so what will your responsibilities be at the Plains Art Museum then?
Sure. The one thing people will probably get to know me the best for doing is planning exhibitions that are put on display in the museum's galleries. So that's a large part of what I do, is researching and putting together those exhibitions. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes tasks that curators do that a lot of people don't know about. So, for instance, Plains Art Museum is a collecting institution. We have what's called a permanent collection. So one of my tasks is to seek out artwork to purchase on behalf of the museum to add to that collection, as well as to take care and preserve and maintain where those objects are stored, and then also to continually research them and share them with the public, for instance, by publishing a paper or by going to a conference. And then just general upkeep with the museum I assist with and help out other departments to make sure that their plans and goals are reached.
So when did you arrive in Fargo to take the job?
Sure. I actually drove myself up here. I have quite a few pets, so it meant that when I moved, I couldn't just hop on a plane. So I packed them all in my SUV. I'm a Texan. I've got a big gas-guzzling SUV, and drove up here. It took me about 2 or 3 days, and I arrived here on October 1st in the fall.
Okay. Well, you could have traveled back down with everybody who went to Frisco in January. But anyway, that's another story. If in your time that you've spent already here, which is less than a year, what's your impression of the museum and the Fargo-Moorhead arts community?
Oh gosh, well, that's one of the motivating factors that brought me up here. Is when I learned about this position and did research about the art scene, I realized that the historic tradition and the wide variety of different types of arts being produced here, and also the immense amount of pride that people have in their arts tradition here. And that has just continued to grow in my eyes since I moved here. And what I have really been impressed with the most is the warmth and the friendliness that people who are artists and also who are working in arts organizations really share with one another. And it really is this very congenial environment that I have really enjoyed becoming a part of.
Okay, well, good. Well, in your bio, there's a statement in there that you're a works on paper specialist.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Basically what that means is any artwork that is produced on paper, that is what I'm interested in the most in terms of my curatorial expertise. So that encompasses actually a lot of different types of artwork. Anything that's a painting on paper, watercolor, acrylic paint, or oil paint, as well as printmaking on paper and photography. And any other type of material an artist might be drawing with, such as graphite or pastels. I really just enjoy paper as a material and what artists are doing with it. So I kind of call myself a paper person.
Okay. And when you say paper, would that include a canvas?
No, that's
See, it
different.
doesn't. Yeah, it
Canvas
is.
is a whole other cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what role do you think the Plains Art Museum, or maybe any museum, has, and how does that fit into the vision of the museum?
Sure. Well, I think it's very important for any town, regardless of size, to have some sort of arts institution, such as the Plains Art Museum here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Museums such as Plains Art Museum are very important in terms of educating the public about art and providing an environment where people can come together to talk about art, to see art. In our Center for Creativity, we offer areas where people can actually make art as well. And really, we're sort of a cultural beacon in the area that's able to provide that type of service to the public.
Okay. Well, since being here, what type of exhibits have you been working on in the museum, I guess, so to speak? Or I'm going to ask you later about what you might be bringing in.
Sure. Since I joined the staff, there were 2 exhibitions that were already in the works that I was able to assist with coming to fruition. And they are both on display now through the end of May. The first one being the 1 Minute Film Festival, 2013 to 2012, excuse me, which is an exhibition about video art. And then the other exhibition I helped with is Red River Reciprocity, Contemporary Ceramics in Minnesota and North Dakota. And as the title suggests, it's an exhibition that explores regional artists working with clay. And so those have been the 2 major projects I've worked on so far.
Okay. A few minutes ago, you mentioned the museum's permanent collection.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of the things that are in the permanent collection that's housed there at the museum?
Sure. Well, one of the things that attracted me to come here as a works on paper specialist was the fact that Plains Art Museum has a long tradition of collecting works on paper. So I'm really excited to start working with that material. There's a lot of photographs, a lot of prints. The museum actually does have a printmaking studio where we can provide artist residency programs to continue the creation of that type of artwork. In addition to that, there's a large amount of artwork that was made by local and regional artists. So our museum plays a very important role in recording the history of art of the region. And then additionally, we also have a lot of nationally and internationally known artists as well. And really the collection encompasses a wide variety of different types of artwork, obviously paper, as I've mentioned, but paintings on canvas, as well as other materials such as boards and wood, a wide variety of sculptures, lots of ceramics, some furniture and textile art. And interestingly, there's these little pockets in the collection that are fascinating as well, such as we do have a collection of Native American objects and actually a historic toy collection as well. A majority of all these are basically a part of the modern and contemporary period, so mainly 19th and 20th century art.
Okay. Now, are most of these permanent collections, are they on display all the time, or are they brought out at different times?
Oh, that's a great question. At the Plains Art Museum, we have one gallery that is devoted to showcasing highlights from our permanent collection, and it's basically a group of about 50 to 70 objects, depending on that particular installation. The remainder of the collection, which is getting close to about 5,000 objects now, is actually stored in a fine art storage facility, which is located in the basement of our building. So actually only a slight fraction of what we own is on display. So the way that we're able to share this with the public is about every 2 years we redo our permanent collection installation so that people have an opportunity to see a little bit of everything that we own.
Okay. I think you also mentioned in talking about it that you will be seeking other things to add to the permanent collection. Is that correct?
Yes.
What are you looking for, or how do you go about that?
Well, a part of that comes from me being active in the arts community and basically just being in touch with what's going on. We collect a wide variety of artwork that I've already touched upon. So basically, if we have an artwork for an artist, we like to continue building upon that to get a full picture of their career, if there's something new and engaging going on. And also, like I said, we really like to provide a broad spectrum by focusing on both the regional, national, and international artists as well. So I'm constantly on the lookout wherever I am, whether it be during working hours or in my free time, looking for the next big thing to add to the museum's collection.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's permanent. And maybe do you stumble on that? Because how does the museum go about getting exhibits? and you know, and then what are you looking for particular things or?
Yeah, this is another great question. Well, sometimes we will do special exhibitions based on our permanent collection, so that is one source of inspiration. And really my philosophy as a curator that it's my job to educate the public about as many different aspects of art as possible. So the inspiration for exhibitions could be a particular artist and spotlighting their work, or it could be a particular type of material or subject matter or time period or style. Or it could be, pushing the boundaries and having a group show based on a particular concept, such as ceramics with our show that we have up right now. Mm-hmm. Very often, I will actually create an exhibition myself and put it together for the institution, but occasionally we are offered what's called a traveling exhibition, an exhibition that's actually put together by another institution or curator who actually wants to take it to several venues around the state or nation, and the 1 Minute Film Festival we have on display is a prime example of that. It was actually organized by Mass MoCA, and we are the second venue to have that show on display.
Interesting. With the Fargo Film Festival, though, that could have related to in some ways. But you know, how do you think museums are doing these days across the country, and has that changed over the years?
Sure. Well, I think the role of museums has changed quite a bit. During the downturn in the economy, a lot of museums were hit kind of hard financially. The Plains Art Museum, definitely felt a bit of that as other museums. However, we have really persevered, and with our Center for Creativity have really come out on top. In terms of the role of art museums over time, I really feel like museums are taking on a lot more of the educational component in terms of reaching out to the masses and sharing with the public what's going on in the history of art and in contemporary art. You do see a lot of school programs cutting back in their funding for arts, visual arts, and other types of forms of art. And so museums like Plains Art Museum are really stepping up and fulfilling that part of the educational curriculum.
Okay. You've mentioned the 1 Minute film exhibit 2 or 3 times, so mm-hmm. How has that been accepted? Are people enjoying that?
Yeah, it really has been a crowd favorite. It has a little something for everybody, what I would say. When you first walk into the exhibition, you're basically dazzled by a wide variety of movie posters that are on display. And these movie posters were actually made by the filmmakers who participated in this film festival called the 1 Minute Film Festival that was put together by artist and curator Jason Simon, where he invited artists to create movies that were 1 minute or less. And then every year people came together and shared these movies. And our exhibition is a compilation of the 10 years worth of 1 minute films. So when a viewer walks into this particular exhibition, they see the movie posters that accompany the films, but then they also have a chance to sit down and look at these 1 minute movies. And due to the fact that they're so short in length, your time attention can actually give you an opportunity to sit there and watch a wide variety of them at once. And really with this exhibition, what we're hoping to do is push the boundaries of what is our definition of art. Is video art considered to be a visual art form? And really introducing this particular medium to the community in the hopes that we will be able to provide more programming related to this type of art form.
Okay. You know, what are some of the exhibits that will be coming up in the next few months? And I guess in addition to that, how far out do you actually plan exhibits?
In the museum world, we plan out about 2 to 3 years in advance, so quite a long time. But as we in the museum world say, it seems to go by very quickly. One exhibition I'm very excited about is an exhibition featuring a new series of photographs by Wayne Goodmanson, who recently retired as a photographer in the Department of Mass Communications at Morehead State University, Minnesota. And Wayne is well known locally, but he is an artist who's achieved both national and international fame as well. And in this particular exhibition, which is going to open up on May 15th during the summer, we're going to premiere a new series of works that's kind of different for him. They are small color digital photographs that explore the sunrise at his cabin at Bad Medicine Lake. So I'm really excited about that.
And of course, we've done some work with Wayne here at Prairie Public.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that video exhibits or video art are something that we've seen more of in the past few years or so. Is this something you want to continue to have?
Oh, yes, definitely. The medium has been around since the 1960s. And for a while was kind of seen as a marginal art form, but is now very much mainstream, especially with technological advancements. One of the things that our exhibition, the 1 Minute Film Festival, highlights is really the ability for anybody to make video art. All of our smartphones and devices nowadays have cameras on them. And so video, in essence, is just a regular, everyday part of American culture. And so we definitely want to highlight that aspect and how artists are using this technology to create visual artwork. So we definitely plan on continuing with this programming.
Okay. What kind of art is your favorite, although you've already told us a little bit with that on paper, and what artists have influenced you in your life?
Sure. Well, if someone were to walk into my townhome, they might be a little bit surprised to see what they find on the walls, because my personal collecting taste is very different than what I do on behalf of the museum in terms of building a permanent collection. Personally, I'm really drawn to non-representational art, so you're not going to see any figures or landscapes in my household. And also, I'm particularly drawn to ceramic art as well. So I do have a lot of pieces in my home that were made out of clay. In my free time, I actually do play around with clay. I'm kind of an amateur ceramic artist. So that's mainly what you would see if you were to come into my home. And of course, almost everything that's on the walls is a work on paper.
Can you talk about the museum and the space at the museum is what I'm asking here, the multiple floors and what this allows you for exhibits?
Sure. Well, the museum building itself is a historic building. Originally, it was built to serve as basically a sales space for farming equipment. So it was full of these wide open spaces, very high ceilings, and a wonderful large freight elevator. And in the mid-1990s, it was renovated with the intentions to become a fine art museum. And so some of the spaces were already quite perfect for museum gallery spaces. And so we took advantage of that and basically kept the basic shape of the building, but slapped up a couple of walls to serve as galleries. So when you enter our museum, it is actually a 3-story building, and every level has a large gallery space. It's about 20,000 square feet. And then in addition, we also utilize all the wall space in the museum as a place to display artwork as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, if people are interested in becoming a member or finding out more about the museum, where's the best place they can go?
Well, I would direct them first to go to our website, plainsart.org. And in addition, if they're interested in touching base with a particular person, they're more than welcome to contact me. We also have a director of development named Lori Wigtol, and I would definitely recommend they reach out to her to learn more about the different options of how to become a member. And right now, we actually do have a special membership drive going on where the studio artist that is in charge of our Center for Creativity, who's a ceramic artist, has created a series of mugs, and if you sign up to become a new member, you will be given one of these mug artworks.
Okay. Well, Becky, we're out of time, but thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much.
Stay tuned for more. The Northern Lights Gospel Quartet is a vocal group based in the beautiful Lakes country of Otter Tail County, Minnesota. Their blend of Southern gospel, doo-wop, and barbershop harmony will bring a smile to your face and an appreciation for the talent that surrounds these dedicated and fun-loving men.
I'm gonna sing just as long as it takes for a song to make sad heavy spirits free. I'm gonna keep making music that carries the secret that Jesus is liberty. I'm gonna turn off the sounds that will drag people down to the pit of despondency. With the sweet happy tune, he is coming soon for his children like you and me. It's a song that'll carry a message along through the densest of foggy nights. And a tune is the rope that can throw a man hope when he's going down for the third time. It's a sweet melody that can cut your heart free from the chains of a past defeat. And you suddenly see through the sweet harmony a path for your wandering feet. I'm gonna sing just as long as it takes for a song to make sad heavy spirits free. I'm gonna keep making music that carries the secret that Jesus is liberty. I'm gonna turn off the sounds that will drag people down to the pit of despondency. With the sweet happy tune, he is coming soon for the children like you and me.
Don't tell me the world is a hopeless old place and I might as well just give in to the doom and gloom. Life's a waiting room for the blow that'll do us all in. I can't sympathize when before my eyes is the hope shining bright as day. I'm gonna follow the song that keeps drawing me on with my feet dancing all the way. I'm gonna
Sing just as long as it takes for a song to make sad, heavy spirits free. I'm gonna keep making music that carries the secret that Jesus is liberty. I'm gonna turn off the sound that'll drag people down to the pit of despondency. With the sweet happy tune, he is coming soon for the children like you and me.
I'm gonna
Sing just as long as it takes for a song to make sad, heavy spirits free. I'm gonna keep making music that carries the secret that Jesus is liberty. I'm gonna turn off the sound that will drag people down to the pit of despondency. With a sweet happy tune, he is coming soon for the children like you and me. With a sweet happy tune, he is coming soon for the children like you and me.
Well, hi, my name is Rich Treptow. I'm the lead singer with the Northern Lights Gospel Quartet. We're primarily a gospel quartet, but we're unique in that we have a very wide-ranging repertoire that includes not only Southern gospel, but also doo-wop, barbershop harmony, and Negro spirituals. So we can do a wide variety of music for a wide variety of occasions. Our favorite part of performing really has to be to see the audience's faces light up when we sing to them. A lot of audiences are not used to hearing four-part a cappella singing, and when they hear it for the first time, it lights up a lot of faces, and we enjoy that the most.
Bum 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 bum.
Oh, when the sun beats down and burns the tar upon the roof, and your shoes get so hot you wish your tired feet were fireproof.
Under the boardwalk, down by the sea, yeah.
On a
Blanket with my baby is where I'll be.
Bum 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 bum. Under the boardwalk,
Out of the sun,
under the boardwalk,
we'll be having some fun.
under the boardwalk,
People walking
under the
above,
boardwalk.
we'll be falling in love under the boardwalk, boardwalk.
Bum, bum,
Now from
bum,
the
bum,
park you
bum,
hear the happy
bum,
sound of a
bum,
carousel, and you can almost taste the hot dogs and french fries they sell.
Under the boardwalk, down by the sea, yeah.
On a
Blanket with my baby is where I'll be.
Under the boardwalk,
Out of the
under the
sun,
boardwalk,
we'll be having some
under the
fun.
boardwalk,
People walking
under the
above,
boardwalk.
we'll be falling in love under the boardwalk, boardwalk. Oh, it's a great, great morning, your first day in heaven when you stroll down the Golden Avenue. There are mansions left and right, and you thrill to every side, and the saints are always smiling, saying, how do you do? Oh, it's a great, great morning, that first day in heaven when you realize your worrying days are through. You'll be glad you were not idle, took time to read the Bible. It's a great, great morning for you.
I had a dream and I confess I hated to awake.
He dreamt he was an angel at the great pearly gate.
St. Peter said, why, hello there, where have you been?
We've got your mansion ready, so come right in.
And then he rang for an angel world to act as a guide.
He spread his wings a time or two and learned how to fly.
Oh, it's a great, great morning, your first day in heaven when you stroll down the Golden Avenue. There are mansions left and right, and you thrill to every side, and the saints are always smiling, saying, how do you do? Oh, it's a great, great morning, that first day in heaven when you realize your worrying days are through. You'll be glad you were not idle, took time to read the Bible. It's a great morning, a great morning. What a happy day!
Well, that's all we have on Prairie Pulse for this week. And as always, thanks for watching.
Funding for Minnesota Legacy programs are provided by a grant from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, and by the members of Prairie Public.